Basara is a virgin scum who gets banished after he accidentally destroys the hero village. However, he moves to a new town where he gets two freaky demon stepsisters who are being hunted by the heroes, and the only way he can give them strength is by clapping them.
Please, Basara, you have to help.
It all started one morning when Basara visited an eatery with his dad Jin, who shared the news that Basara now had a cute little sister that would be arriving at the diner in a short while because she wanted to meet him. He was so shook up by the situation that he'd nearly hop out of his chair anytime someone walked into the diner, so he decided to go exercise his arms in the bathroom to calm down. When Basara opened the bathroom door, he was absolutely shocked to see a smoking hot red-haired girl named Mio in a sus position. He tried to look away but couldn't get his Gunner instincts to back off, so he stole a peek and noticed a sign on the wall which he didn't see beforehand that informed customers to knock before entering because the lock was broken. Mio was on the verge of yelling as loud as she could, but Basara stopped her by covering her mouth as he explained that it was all an accident. After he pulled away his hand, she acted cooperative, which made him happy, but then she tried to format his creep brain for acting too cultured for her liking. Fortunately, they were interrupted by Jin, who arrived with Mio's sister named Maria, and this made Mio instantly realize that the loser she was about to put in his place was Jin's son. Afterwards, they shared introductions at the table and Basara asked about Maria and Mio's mother, so Jin revealed that she'd be handling some business outside the country for a while. The next morning, Basara woke up and realized he was in every neat's fantasy, when the first thing he saw was Mio greeting him, while in a crawling position on top of him. He ended up falling on top of her, so she kicked him where the sun didn't shine and threatened to end him 100 times if he ever made sus moves on her again. After she left, Basara remembered his conversation with Jin, where the old man told him that the girls were attacked by weirdos and had to deal with being away from their mom as a way of urging Basara to try to protect them. Basara walked downstairs to the living room, where he was greeted by Maria, but he immediately spilled his milk when he saw the sus outfit she was wearing. A while later, Jin took a family photo of them and Basara realized he was still finding it hard to accept their situation of being a family unlike everyone else. The following day, after Basara and Mio did some shopping, he left her to go get the bike, but when he came back he saw her getting pestered by some scumbags in the street. Basara went full chat mode as he tried to trigger them before knocking one of them out with his bicycle tire and creating a diversion which allowed himself and Mio to escape. That evening, Basara was stunned when Jin suddenly decided to leave for Dubai because of his freelance work, and even though it looked like he was going to get milk. The old man brushed it off and instructed Basara to put on his Onichin shoes and protect the girls. After Jin left, Basara noticed the lights were out and thinking it was Alabama bonding time, he walked into the living room, but Maria suddenly pushed him to the wall using wind magic before commanding him to leave the house at once. Basara was baffled by the Harry Potter drama he was witnessing, so Maria explained to him that magic and otherworldly creatures existed, while revealing that Mio is the future demon lord. She also revealed that their enemies were called Clan of Gods or Heroes, and that they had made up the story about Jin remarrying and altered his memories so they could use Basara's home as their base. Maria decided to use her magic to alter Basara's memories as well so he'd jump off a cliff somewhere, but when she tried, Basara didn't obey her command to leave. Just then, Basara zoomed around them in a heartbeat and summoned a sword which he used to deflect a magic ray that Maria fired at him before revealing that he's from the Clan of Heroes. The girls were stunned because they thought the hero clan was isolated in their hidden village, but that didn't stop Basara from charging at them only to stop at the last moment, after which he deactivated his sword before commanding them to get out of his house. Later that night, Basara's right hand trembled as he remembered a traumatizing event from his childhood which involved demons, but he was glad that he didn't have a certain dangerous technique anymore. He then called his dad and filled him in concerning the imposters. However, Jin revealed that he was only pretending to be tricked by the girls, so he could investigate them for the hero village. Jin said Mio is the only daughter of Demon Lord Wilbert, and explained that Wilbert was a peaceful demon lord who brought an end to the war between demons and heroes. Other demons who loved war started getting salty, so he sent Mio to hide out in the human world before getting unalived a year ago. At the same time, Mio and Maria were at Basara's special spot in the city, talking about their moving plans when they were attacked by a strange demon. Meanwhile, Jin told Barasa that he decided to take Mio, and because the present demon lord, who took over after her father's death, wanted the power Mio inherited even though it wasn't fully awakened, so he sent forces after her. Realizing what he had to do, the young hero rode as fast as he could in search of Mio and Maria, while the demon girl duo took out a bunch of demons that attacked them. Unfortunately, the battle wasn't over because a shadow demon respawned and Pikachu'd Mio off a cliff, which made her fear for her life, and just before she got a free ticket back to hell, Basara showed up to save her. With a single slash of his sword, Basara took out the demon, after which he asked the girls to come home with him, while showing them the family photo they took, which implied that he now considered them as family. The next morning, Basara made Maria to drink, and she asked why he decided to help them despite their efforts to dupe him, causing him to reveal that Jin explained their situation to him. Basara said he intended to protect them because he knew that Mio was innocent, so Maria asked about the hero village, causing him to explain that he and Jin didn't have strong relations with the village and were living like ordinary humans. Mio walked out of the bathroom after taking a refreshing bath, but she was still haunted by the events of the previous night because she saw herself as a pathetic weakling who needed saving despite learning magic from Maria for 6 months. Basara interrupted her as he came by the door and apologized for crashing out earlier, but she fainted before she could conjure up a reply, causing Basara to rush in to help her. When she came to, Mio brought up how she felt guilty for trying to deceive them, but Basara was a bigger simp than she expected, so he commended her for trying to save him from all the demon drama by altering his memories, and even assured her that he'll protect her while patting her head. Just then, Maria walked in on them and teased them a bit before glazing Basara for his amazing hero abilities, but Bro claimed it was a fluke as he walked away. That evening, Mio thought about Basara's words while staring at her old family photo, and this gave her traumatic flashbacks of her former parents getting barbecued, which made her emotional. Maria showed up and gave her a printed version of their family photo, which Basara made for them before convincing Mio to believe in the promises of Jin and Basara. She then came up with a crazy idea, which involved Basara and Mio forming a master-servant pact, and this stunned Basara, causing her to explain that it would help him take care of Mio, since masters are able to sense their servants at every point in time. Basara still argued like a dumb idiot, saying he could track her using GPS, so Maria yelled at him and informed him that the magic for the pact could only be used on the night of a full moon like the night they were currently in, implying that they needed to act fast. When he asked for Mio's opinion on the matter, she said she was okay with it since it would help them know their whereabouts, and Maria offered to help Mio because it was her first magic casting ritual. Maria informed them that the ritual would be completed when Basara kissed the magic circle that would appear on Mio's hand. However, when they began, the magic circle surprisingly appeared on Basara's hand, which made everyone panic. Mio was losing her mind about the idea of kissing Basara's hand and becoming his slave, and she ignored Maria's requests to do it fast until the magic circle on Basara's arm disappeared. All of a sudden, a red magic circle appeared around Mio's neck, which made her go crazy when Basara slightly touched her shoulder, so Maria explained that it was due to a curse which took effect because of Mio's refusal to kiss his arm. Maria revealed that she's a succubus, which explained why Mio was currently in a sus predicament. When Mio begged them to save her, Maria explained that the only way to do so was for Basara to make her floodgates rain, which would counter the curse by making her submit to him. Basara hesitated like a typical miserable virgin, but Maria the degenerate said he needed to do it to end Mio's suffering. So he went ahead and recreated one of the classics he watched on page 300 of the Hub with Mio. When they were done, Mio was exhausted while Basara felt violated. So Maria cleaned up the love gravy she spilled all over the floor and explained that she didn't tell Basara about the curse earlier because she was scared that he'd refuse. He forgave her after she apologized, but Mio regained her strength and dragged Maria by the head to teach her a lesson in a separate room. The next day, Maria walked Basara and Mio to school while informing them of her fake license, which would allow her to do whatever she wanted while they were in class. At school, Mio asked Basara why he transferred to her school, causing him to explain that his father knew someone at the school and wanted it that way. The two of them agreed to keep their distance from each other so they wouldn't rouse the suspicion of the rest of the students, and Basara remembered Maria's explanation of how Mio's curse activates. Afterwards, Basara met up with his new homeroom teacher named Mamoru and introduced himself to the class as an average guy before Mamoru told the class rep named Yuki to look after him. When the bell rang, Mamoru ordered everyone to line up in the hall, but Yuki suddenly embraced Basara, which made him remember that they were childhood friends. However, a jealous Mio immediately pulled them apart. Yuki and Mio started a cat fight over Basara, which led to Mio revealing that she lived with him, and this made Basara become public enemy #1 among the boys in their class. Even Mio was being salty to him, because she was still annoyed by his closeness to Yuki. But he eventually met the one guy in class who didn't see him as a stinking pile of trash named Takegawa. To escape the commotion, Takegawa took Basara to the roof using a secret passageway and told him that he'd become an enemy to all the guys in the school because he was close to the two cutest baddies in the school. After school, they met up with Miria and Basara, tried to explain the Yuki situation to Mio before Yuki suddenly showed up and asked to speak privately with him. They went to an eatery where they had a friendly chat about the embarrassing things they used to do to each other 5 years ago, but Yuki suddenly switched up and warned Basara not to get involved with Mio anymore. Basara knew Mio was a high-value surveillance target and presumed that Yuki was the one who the village assigned to look after her, which made Yuki ask why he and his dad decided to get involved with them despite their demon origin. They had no idea that Mio and Maria were listening in on their conversation, and Mio expressed her worries to Maria about how Yuki could steal Basara from her. But all of a sudden, her slave crest started glowing, causing her body to react in sus ways. Basara told Yuki that he intended to protect Mio from all the enemies that are coming after her, because she's an innocent girl who lost her parents due to some greedy war-obsessed trash bags. However, Yuki was worried he'd end up like demon fodder since he wasn't as strong as he used to be anymore. Yet Basara said he believed it was his duty to fight for Mio despite being nerfed, because no one else would. Their conversation was interrupted when they heard Mio suddenly rush outside from the table she was sitting, so Maria quelled her concerns about Basara by advising her to open her heart to him and do something special for him as well. Basara then brought up an incident that happened 5 years ago, where he did something he couldn't forgive himself for, but Yuki said it wasn't a bad thing because he saved them all. Later on, they stepped outside where Yuki bluntly told Basara she didn't believe he was capable of defeating the demons who were after Mio, but he said he'd somehow manage not to lose without involving her or the village. Yuki suddenly went into her battle form as she approached Basara, only to attack the demon behind him with a single swing of her blade before explaining to Basara that the stray demons were appearing because they sensed Mio's energy. She informed him that the village would have no choice but to eliminate Mio if these stray demons become a danger to people in the area, and she would play a huge role in Mio's defeat, even though Basara ends up hating her for it. That evening, Basara told Maria and Mio about his conversation with Yuki, but they replied by accusing him of going on a lover's meeting with Yuki and baited him into accepting their offer of deepening their trust with each other in some weird way. Before Basara knew it, he was in the bathroom with the girls, and Mio yapped about how bathing together was a necessary activity to build their trust, so Basara agreed. Mio started scrubbing his back, and after getting a signal from Maria, she ditched the sponge and started using her bazookas, which proved to be more effective. Later that night, Basara woke up and noticed that he was sleeping beside Maria. He soon realized he was grabbing her plots, so he jumped away, which made her tease him for having crazy dreams about them. The next day, Mia noticed how Basara was always taking naps in class, which made her remember Yuki's words to him the previous day. Just then, Takegawa came by and informed them that Basara and Yuki had been assigned by their teacher to help organize their summer assignments at the office. Basara suggested to Mio that they call Maria, but Mio said she'd wait until he's done before Yuki interrupted them by saying she could handle her class rep responsibility by herself. Mio felt jealous and stood up to express her feelings, but the slave crest on her neck started glowing, which made her pass out. They took her to the school infirmary, where she rested while the school nurse named Chisato discussed with Basara, advising him to be mindful of his allies and foes before leaving for the office. As Basara was about to head out to help Yuki with her task, Mio pulled him back and begged him to stay, so he told Takegawa to help him handle the assignment instead. They had a friendly chit-chat before Basara left to go get some drinks at the vending machine, where he also filled Maria in on what happened via cell phone call. Takegawa met him there, and as they argued about the greatest knockers in anime history, they were interrupted by the appearance of several stray demons, which made Basara fear for Mio's life. Meanwhile, someone walked into the hospital room, and Mio thought it was Basara, but it ended up being Yuki. Back at the vending machine, Basara suddenly knocked Takegawa out with an elbow to the gut before summoning his sword and destroying the stray demons. He immediately rushed to check on Mio, but she already left the infirmary and was on the roof with Yuki, who was threatening her to leave Basara alone. Mio said she wouldn't leave him because he promised to protect her as family, which made Yuki activate her battle mode and fire a massive blast from her sword that Mio barely managed to block with a magic shield. Mio decided to go all out as well by firing a tornado at Yuki, but the ice-cold hero slashed through it and blasted her again. They had a fully intense magical showdown while arguing about Basara, but Yuki eventually decided to get serious as she shattered Mio's magic shield and informed Mio that Basara wasn't who she thought he was because he destroyed his own comrades 5 years ago in order to save everyone. She added that it was that incident that made Basara and Jin lose their ties to the village and revealed that Basara was still suffering because of it. Yuki got angry about the fact that Mio was making him wield the sword again, so she charged Reading to make human minced meat of her, but Basara made it just in time to stop them. He scolded them for acting like hot-headed dummies and asked what they were talking about. That's when a mysterious masked man above them suddenly replied, revealing that he was the one behind the demons that appeared earlier. He even went further to reveal that Basara and Maria had sacrificed their sleep and were fighting demons every night in order to protect Mio and prevent her from being a prime target of the hero village. Mio started to feel guilty about the situation, but that didn't stop the masked man from conjuring a demon right behind her, with the intent of capturing her. Basara tried to attack the demon, but the masked man successfully gaslighted him by reminding him of how he murdered his comrade who was in a similar situation. Out of desperation, Basara jumped in and was stabbed brutally in the back by the demon as he shielded Mio. Mio was losing her mind in fear because her man was a bloody pile of fodder on top of her, while the masked man rained insults on Basara for being an NPC in his own anon. Yuki destroyed the demon that stabbed him and tried to fight the masked man, but he evaded her attacks and steered her attention away from him by reminding her of Basara's critical condition, which needed urgent attention. The masked man then questioned Mio, asking her if she'd prefer to save everyone by surrendering or letting everyone else get hurt because of her own pursuit for revenge, as he vanished into a portal. Later that evening, Basara was in bed and Mio heaved a sigh of relief when Maria told her that he was now stable. After Mio left the room, Basara regained consciousness, which surprised Maria seeing how fast he was able to recover, so he explained how he used to get special body training under the hero clan ever since he was little. Back then, Basara was so good with the sword that he could easily defeat his age mates in sparring matches, which impressed everyone to the point that the elders felt he was going to be the hope of the next generation. After practice one day, one man came rushing in with an injured arm, as he informed the elders that the sacred demon's sword had been stolen by a man named Sato, who was now possessed by the evil spirits which the sword had sealed and was attempting to destroy the hero village. As the children ran away, Sato rushed in to face the swordsmen who were guarding them and easily ripped them to shreds before cornering the children. When Sato tried to attack Yuki, young Basara rushed in front of her and unleashed a massive energy wave that took Sato out. Back in real time, Basara was worried about Mio, and his fears became reality when Maria confirmed that Mio wasn't in her room, so she begged him to sense her using the Slay Pact so she could do something. She didn't want him to come along with her, because he wasn't fully recovered, but Basara didn't care about that. Meanwhile, Mio arrived in a mysterious forest, where she used a special spell that would prevent others from following her, and the masked man met her there. Mio decided to fight him alone, as she threw all of her strongest flame attacks at him, which unfortunately didn't harm him at all. The masked man then used his masterful gaslighting skills once again as he made fun of Mio's flames and reminded her of how she put Basara in danger while threatening to finish him off. Mio decided to surrender under the condition that he doesn't harm a hair on the head of Basara and Maria, which caused the masked man to put her in magical handcuffs, and as he prepared a portal back to the demon realm, Yuki made a dramatic entrance. Both Mio and the masked man were surprised that Yuki came to the aid of the demon princess, and Yuki transformed into her full battle mode before saying she wouldn't forgive the masked man for hurting Basara. Her numerous attempts to slash the masked man were being effortlessly blocked, like he had Gojo's infinity. But all that was on her mind was how she finally saw the innocent and selfless nature in Mio that Basara told her about. The masked psycho was drowning in overconfidence, but Yuki shocked him by slashing through the magical barrier he'd set up to shield himself, causing him to realize that she'd been focusing her attacks on one spot in order to break through. Yuki then fired a massive blast which he dodged before firing several magical attacks of his own. After dodging a couple of his attacks, Yuki got hit by his dark blasts, which weakened her as he prepped a massive dark bubble to use in destroying her. Mio begged him to stop, saying he should take her and leave Yuki, but the masked man said he'd never let anyone who stuck their nose in his baddie hunting mission go unscathed as he fired the massive bubble towards Yuki. Suddenly, Basara appeared and used a sacred technique called Vanishing Shift that erases the existence of all kinds of attacks to slash this giant bubble. Apparently, it was this attack which he'd used in his childhood to save Yuki, while erasing Sito and several of his own comrades in the area. Basara thought about how he wanted to protect Mio no matter what, and this gave him the power to fully destroy the giant dark bubble. He charged at the masked man and tried to finish him off with slashes, but the Dachebag dodged and retaliated by firing several smaller dark orbs at him. Basara got through his attacks and charged at the masked Dachebag, who thought that he'd gained the upper hand when he started choking Basara out before Maria appeared and punched him with enough power to shatter his magic shield. This gave Basara an opening to spam every sword attack. He learned from Bleach and destroy the masked dummy once and for all. Just when they all started to feel safe, a demon appeared and stabbed Basara from behind, causing Mio to have an emotional meltdown, so she released a powerful aura that destroyed the demon with ease as she spiraled out of control. Basara got up and tried to calm her down, but Mio was scared that she'd end up destroying the world, which made her beg Basara to end her. However, Basara recited one of the power of friendship speeches to make her change her mind, and now she wanted him to save her instead. Now fully powered up and motivated, Basara used a complete Vanishing Shift attack to wipe out all of Mio's rampaging aura. The next morning, Yuki came by their house in search of Basara, but Maria said he was asleep, so Yuki dropped some medicine she got from their village for him and left. A while later, Basara went to school, where he met Takegawa on the roof, who tried to act friendly like normal. But that didn't fool Basara, who immediately figured out that he was the masked man. Knowing that he could no longer play Basara for a fool, he tried to start a fight, but Basara said he wanted to negotiate instead. Knowing that the Demon Lord would send someone even more powerful than Takegawa if he knew about this failure, Basara proposed that he and Maria would keep it a secret if Takegawa just continued to observe Mio without making any moves on her. They reached an agreement, and as Takegawa walked away, he revealed to Basara that the demon that unalived Mio's foster parents was her former observer named Zolgia, who he was sure would soon make a move again. Mio soon came by the roof after Takegawa left, and tried to thank Basara for saving her by kissing him before she was stopped by Yuki, who started a lover's quarrel which became a complete mess when Maria joined in. The next morning, Maria woke Basara up in the most sus way possible and even refused to get off of him when he asked, which made him bonk her on the forehead. Afterwards, he walked into the bathroom, where he met Mio with very little armor on before slipping and ending up on top of him. She chewed him out for being a disgusting virgin, causing him to explain that he didn't do it on purpose because the occupied sign she hung up mysteriously disappeared. She still used lightning magic to beat him senseless, but the craziness didn't end there because Yuki also somehow appeared in his bathroom after Mio left and gaslighted him into agreeing for her to wash him. As she washed his hair, Yuki asked when he and Jin were returning to the village, but before he could reply, Mio came by the door and stirred things up by reminding him of their awkward scenario from several minutes ago. Mio eventually opened the door and caught the two childhood friends in a sus position and tried to beat Basara up again before her slave crest started making her go crazy. The sneaky little succubus tried to capitalize on this by telling them to do weird things together while she recorded them, but Basara threw her out like trash and handled things the civilized way. Several hours later, Basara enjoyed some steak at a restaurant with Takegawa, who revealed that Jin was the equivalent of Madara, because it was the fear of his monstrous strength that made the demons cease the war against the heroes. He then informed him that the Demon Lord was sending in reinforcements to observe Mio, because they believed that Mio had awakened her power while presuming that it would be someone stronger than him. In addition, he brought up Basara's master-slave contract with Mio, revealing that the more the loyalty of the servant grew, the more powerful the master would become, which was why powerful demons loved keeping many slaves. He also said that if the slave is captured by an enemy, they become a liability to the master, which could make the curse destroy them. He eventually stopped yapping and realized their barbecue was burning up, and just then, Chisato suddenly showed up and asked to join them, which they agreed to. Afterwards, Basara and Chisato were walking home when she brought up his conversations with Takegawa. He tried to act like they were yapping about Fortnite, but she made it clear that she was no dummy, so he told her the real deal. She advised him to think about what he really wanted to protect before kissing him in the forehead and reciting a charm from her village as she walked away. Elsewhere, Takegawa met up with a demon named Volga, who immediately asked to go spy on Mio, so Takegawa tried to use his sugar tongue to dissuade him. But the demon was too much of a hothead to lend him an ear. After Volga left, a demon with enormous melons named Zest, who was Zolja's right-hand soldier, stopped by and told Takegawa about the special assignment given by the demon lord, which he agreed to help her out with. That night, Basara scolded Maria for not telling him that the master-slave contract could unalive Mio if she were captured. However, Maria defended herself by explaining that it would also allow him to save her if such a situation arises. They knew that things could get crazy if Mio found out about this, because she'd run off again like last time, so Basara decided to leave the master-slave contract intact, and Maria got a crazy idea to spice things up. Maria knew Basara had negative aura, so she helped him do some research on how to train and bond with Maria using dating games, which made him call her an idiot. She continued yapping about how it would help their mission to thwart the demon lord's plans until Basara cooperated. But unfortunately, he couldn't rizz up a girl to save his life, so the game had a bad ending. Maria realized they might be cooked, which caused her to take things into her own hands and turn the game into a sus setting while suggesting weird things for Basara to do with Mio before the demon princess showed up and beat her to a pulp. Elsewhere, a demon tried to jump a random woman, but got sliced in half by two heroes named Takashi and Shiba. The two heroes also informed Kiruma that Mio had now become a target for elimination. The next day, some goofy seniors tried to bully Basara because they heard he was living with Mio, but a teacher named Sakasaki came just in time to stop them, which made Basara thank him. Yuki then showed up and asked Basara if he had any plans for the next weekend, which he replied that he didn't, so she asked him out on a date. The following weekend, Basara and Yuki went to a mall for their date, where they were being pestered by the shopkeeper before Basara noticed a weird aura in the atmosphere. Mio suddenly showed up and hugged Yuki in a cheerful manner, which shocked both Basara and Yuki. The little demon princess went into full tsundere mode as she tried to deny their suspicions of her following them, while suggesting that she was shopping in the area when she ran into them. Yuki surprisingly didn't blow a gasket, but instead asked for Mio's permission to pick out some clothes for her, and they spent the next few hours trying out many pretty clothes. They were having a friendly chat on their way out when Kurumai secretly confronted Yuki, who was her sister, and told her that it was time for them to stop being nice. The rest of the squad tried to call Yuki, but couldn't reach her, and Basara feared that something may have happened to her. However, they soon noticed a strange aura followed by a wind attack, which they dodged. Volga, who was responsible for the attacks, showed up and immediately started rage baiting them by calling them useless warthogs, causing Basara to get angry, because he thought that Volga was responsible for Yuki's disappearance. Basara charged at him with intent to slash him in two, but Volga's skin was too hard to pierce, which gave Volga the upper hand, after which he sent Basara flying with a shockwave attack. Volga swore to break Basara's bones like potato chips as he marched towards him, but Mio stopped him using a flame attack, which allowed Maria to deliver a brutal punch to his gut. Unfortunately, that only angered Volga because he tossed Maria aside like a wet rag before resuming his shockwave attacks until Basara managed to deflect one of them using his sword. Volga finally decided to get serious, which was indicated by a glow on his right hand, but before he could do anything with this power-up, Takashi made ice cubes out of him. Basara recognized him, as well as Shiba, who also made an appearance. So when he asked them why they came, Shiba revealed that they had orders from the village to eliminate Mio. When Basara asked where Yuki was, Kurumi fired a blast that barely missed them and accused Basara of being a traitor for protecting the demon lord's daughter and ignoring the amount of torment that her sister Yuki had to endure for 5 years. Shib added salt to the wound by reminding Basara that he wasn't one of them, which implied that he'd be considered an enemy if he interfered in their mission, but that wasn't enough to make the blockhead back down. With a single wave of a finger, Shiba shattered the magical barrier surrounding them and told Basara that they needed to prepare a barrier space that could withstand their battle, because the elders would get mad if they pulled a Superman and destroyed the city. He then informed Basara that their 3-on-3 battle would take place in a week's time. That evening, Basara filled Jin in on what was going on, and the old man was surprised that the hero clan let Shiba out of prison for the mission. Basara asked if going up against them would mean making an enemy of the heroes in the world, but Jin said it didn't matter because they exiled him from the village and assured him that he'd have his back. A bit later, Basara trained Maria and Mio on how to fight the heroes, but they were still concerned about the powerful spear, which the heroes had in their arsenal named Byakko. It's a spear that has the power to create powerful gusts of wind that melts down anything. The girls were scared, but Basara calmed their nerves by informing them of a way to avoid the spear, which involved fighting in a specific direction that the spear couldn't attack in. Basara also informed them that Kuruma uses the power of elemental spirits, but claimed that she'd be limited to wine spirits because of Byakko, which meant that they'd still have a chance if they controlled their direction and distance. Meanwhile, Shiba and Takashi were having a talk of their own, and Takashi remembered how friendly he was with Basara during their childhood, until he found out that Basara's power eliminated the remains of the dead heroes, which made him swear to make him pay. Several days later, Maria met up with Basara in the living room and begged him to subdue Mio some more so that they could power up using the Master-Slave Pact, but he refused because he considered Mio to be family and wanted to build trust between them the normal way. This made Maria come up with an idea which she claimed was an alternative solution, and Basara was about to lose his mind when she started rubbing her cannons on his chest. She explained that succubus can absorb Gunnar energy and turn it into power, which implied that she was trying to grow stronger using that ability. Just then Mia walked in, but instead of getting violent with them as usual, she suggested that she must be the one to work out with Basara for a power-up instead. She thanked Basara for his attempt to build trust with her the right way, and they eventually began their embarrassing ritual. Maria suggested using maple syrup as a form of lotion during the affair, which made Basara pull a move straight out of the Diddy playbook, as he went commando on her gigantic plots until the crest on Mio's neck started glowing blue. This meant that their power levels had increased, which made everyone happy, but Mio decided to pull one more crazy move on Basara before saying that they'll win their battle. The next day, Basara met up with Takegawa on the roof, where they talked about the upcoming battle between Basara's team and the heroes, which was scheduled to take place that day. Basara said he didn't know the location yet, and Takegawa revealed that he would have to interfere if the heroes tried to unalive Mio, even if the hero on the offense was Yuki. As he walked away, he told Basara that ensuring Yuki's safety meant that he must win unless he'd have to hurt the hero team, including Yuki. Later that day, Basara met up with Yuki in a private room, where she begged him to withdraw from the upcoming battle, but he refused. Before she left, Basara stopped her by giving her a spare key to their home and saying he didn't want their friendship to come to an end. When it was time for the battle, Basara and the girls arrived at a bridge, which was the location of the battle. They were joined by the hero squad, and Shiba immediately announced that it was time for the battle to begin. Takashi planted a spear on the ground, which created a massive magical barrier that covered the area and teleported Shiba away. Basara asked why he sent Shiba away, which caused Takashi to explain that he didn't want Shiba to get nosy and interfere in their battle. They all went into their battle forms, and Takashi kicked things off by slashing a street lamp apart before crossing blades with Basara. Maria and Mio wasted no time to join the battle as they fired some magical attacks at Takashi, who was headed towards them, while Kuruma used a powerful tornado attack to send Basara flying. She didn't even give Bro time to land on the ground before she used her wind powers to levitate to his level in the air and started chewing him out for going after her sister while firing more powerful gusts of wind at him. Basara noticed that he was being blown towards a particular area in the battlefield due to one of Kurumi's wind attacks, so he spun like a Beyblade to disperse the wind, causing Kuruma to realize that he was drawing her away from Yuki to have a one-on-one battle with him. Shiba watched from afar and noticed that Maria and Mio were running away to lure Takashi until Basara got back, and they eventually got into a dark room where the girls started piling on attacks on him. Takashi slashed apart the dolls and trash they threw at him, but when he tried to fight back, Maria blocked his strike and explained that she'd grown stronger thanks to the extracurricular night activities of Basara and Mio. Takashi decided to go all out himself as his spear started glowing green, and he activated the power of Byakko, which sent her flying through a wall, as he explained that Byakko's power could work at close range. Mio countered using a spell that flooded the entire room, and Takashi was shocked by this. Meanwhile, Basara kept running away from Kuruma until he reached a particular spot where he attacked her, only to get blocked by the gust of wind surrounding her. Kuruma noticed that he was attacking with the edge of his blade and felt that he was underestimating her, which made her blast him through a wall using a powerful wind attack. She confronted him about his stupid hero ideals, but Besar remained determined to protect Mio and help the rest of his friends as well. She tried using her wind attack again, but Besar had activated his banishing shift ability, which swallowed her wind as well as her channel to the spirits before sending her flying with the impact of a powerful strike to the ground. As Kurumi fell, she thought about how she didn't want Yuki to face Besar, but the young hero decided to save her from the fall, which made her fall for his heroic Rizz. But then Yuki showed up. When she drew her sword, Kurumi tried to warn Besar to get away, but the pea-brain stood still as Yuki smacked him to the ground with the handle of her sword. Kurumi was worried about Besar, but Yuki fed him a potion which made him sleep, as she told her sister that it was the only way to take him out of the equation for half a day. At the other end, Mio thanked Maria for giving her the opportunity to get the upper hand on Takashi, but unfortunately their advantage didn't last for long because the flood got dispersed by the power of Bako. After blabbing about his spear's power for about 20 minutes, he fired a powerful blast, which was meant to blow both demon girls away, but the girls managed to escape this attack, which made him baffled as he chased them. Takashi chased them down as he cut away the flame attack which Mio fired to stop him, and just when he was about to land the finishing blow, Yuki stopped him with her energy blast. He reminded Yuki that she'd be targeted as a traitor if she chose to side with the demon girl, and tried to gaslight her into changing her mind by bringing up Besara's outburst from 5 years ago. However, Yuki explained that she was trying to prevent that incident from happening again and upholding her ideals of a hero by protecting Besar and her friends. As the two of them started fighting, Mio tried to join in, but Maria stopped her by reminding her that they needed to find Besar. The young man they were looking for was taking a nap on Kurumi's lap, and she realized just how much he was suffering when he started to sleep talk about his trauma. When Mio came by, Kurumi got up to fight her, but Maria had no interest in doing so as she tried to wake him up. Kurumi informed her that he'd been given sleeping drugs, but Mio kept yelling his name until he eventually woke up from his nightmare. Meanwhile, Takashi fired powerful attacks using his spear, which overwhelmed Yuki and knocked Maria aside when she tried to attack him as well. Yuki thought about how Besar was betrayed by the hero village by being exiled for an event that ruined his life as well, but even those strong ideas weren't enough to prevent Takashi from knocking her down again. Before Takashi could turn her into a kebab, Besara blocked his attack and scolded him for attacking his own childhood friend Yuki. When Besara lowered his sword, Takashi confidently attacked with the mindset that he was simply changing his fighting style, but Besara dodged all of his moves with ease. Besara's super-fast sword strikes were blocked by Takashi, but eventually Byaku's auto-defense activated, which happened when it felt danger looming. Even Takashi attempted to keep the spear's powers at bay, but it acted like it had a mind of its own as it blasted both Besara and Takashi away with a huge wave of wind. Shigo was amused by the situation as he realized that Takashi wasn't ready to wield Byaku's power yet, and soon Byaku manifested as a giant spirit tiger, which Besara identified as a guardian spirit beast that wouldn't attack them unless they struck first. Kurumi reminded him that the barrier they were fighting in was created using Byaku's power, which implied that it may crack open if they didn't do anything to stop this beast. This made Besara come up with a plan, which would involve drawing out the beast attack and breaking the barrier at the same time, so Yuki offered to help with the power of her sword Sakuya. She charged at the beast and stole its attention using her sword attacks, which created an opening for Besara to use his banishing shift ability to vaporize the guardian spirit beast. Afterwards, Takashi started yapping about how they needed to destroy him, because Besara had already stooped as low as partnering with the devil's daughter, and Mio got so angry that she slapped him. Mio started nagging about how she was going through hard times as well, which made Besara calm her down with some rizzful lines before Shiba showed up and said they needed to head out. Takashi still ranted like a doofus and claimed that they weren't finished, so Shiba explained that their mission was temporarily withdrawn because eliminating Mio at that point could affect their pacts with the gods and spirits. Shiba made Takashi finally shut his mouth by showing him his terrifying Sharingan eyes, and also threatened Besara with his aura when he tried to stop Yuki from following them back to the village. As Shiba walked away, he claimed that misfortune would meet everyone if Yuki and the others didn't return to the village with him the next day, which made Yuki say goodbye to Besara as she followed Shiba. A few days later, Besara felt sad in class because of Yuki's absence, and Mio was also troubled by his mood, which made her friends comfort her. Once they got home, Besara noticed that the house was covered in a wholesome scent, so he asked what was cooking, and was shocked to see Yuki, who said it was her special beef stew. Yuki informed him that the Hero Village had called off Mio's execution order, which meant that they were pretending that the recent events never happened. Seeing that Basara was still confused, she revealed that they got a call from Jin, which made Basara remember that his dad promised to have his back during all the drama. He hugged her tightly and she responded by kissing him, which made Mio yell at both of them. However, Yuki soon dropped a bombshell by informing them that she now had permission from the village to live with them. The naughty little succubus showed up and decided to reward Yuki for her help in the battle by showing her some video footage of Mio and Basara's special training, which made her request for a fun time as well. Mary had explained to Yuki that it was all to make them stronger using their master-servant pact, and threw a cherry on top by offering Yuki a master-servant pact with Basara as well, since the next night was a full moon, which Yuki agreed to. As they walked to class, Yuki told Basara that she wanted to forge that pact with him, and this made her have her usual lovers bickering with Mio. In the dressing room, Yuki felt a bit jealous because of the fact that Mio had bigger melons, but remembered Maria saying that hers only needed some sessions with Basara for them to grow, and this made her look forward to that night. Meanwhile, Basara was having a friendly chat with Takagawa about the scars on his body when he noticed Maria hopping around the school and decided to go after her. He met her snooping around his empty classroom and asked why she was there after knocking her on the head, causing her to explain that she was there to check on Mio. She asked him to follow her somewhere while assuring him that it was all for Mio's sake, so he reluctantly followed her to one of the bathrooms where she sensed a strange aura and ran off. They eventually arrived at the school roof, where a couple were doing some private yoga dances, so she spied on them a bit before suggesting they move on to the next spot. Next, Maria took Basara to the women's changing room, where she goofed off a bit by wearing Mio's undergarments on his head, and hearing that the girls were coming back, they hid in one of the closets to avoid Mio's wrath. While they were in there, she decided to take the bull by the horn or whatever he had below, but Mio caught them red-handed when she opened her locker, which made her beat them up. They explained that it was for her safety, but she got jealous when Basara brought up Yuki, which made her slave curse activate. Basara immediately took action and Maria advised him to do something more extreme to make the best out of the situation. So he showered Mio with warm water, causing her to go crazy, before he went bonkers on her plots. Eventually, the slave crest glowed blue and Basara commended her for lasting all the way till the end, while Maria thanked him for strengthening them even more. Some hours later, Yuki stopped by when Basara and Mio were talking about how they couldn't find Maria, so he told her to walk Mio home while he searched for Maria. Basara eventually found Maria walking around with Takagawa and chased them down only to meet Maria alone. When he asked what she was doing with Takagawa, she said she was asking for directions because she got lost, and Basara confessed that he was worried about her before holding her hand as they walked back home. Meanwhile, Zest showed her master everything Basara had done in the past few months, which involved the Master-Slave Pact with the girls and his use of the Banishing Shift during combat, so he asked who else knew about his special powers. Zest said it was only Takagawa, who they referred to as Lars, but Zolja said they didn't need to pay heed to someone as worthless as him. Zest then confirmed that the plans which Zolja had laid were now ready to be executed, so he decided that they should start making their move. As he watched the screen and saw Mio and the gang showing off their abilities, he claimed he'd show them a level of pain and pleasure that was beyond anything they could fight. That night, Maria was all geared up in her demon drip, as she said it was time for the Master's Servant Pact ritual between Basara and Yuki. Basara asked why Yuki was wearing an overly cultured dress, which made Yuki confess that she told Maria to make it for her, because she didn't want to lose to Mio. Basara tried to keep his virgin instincts at bay by looking away, but Yuki threatened to do even more weird stuff if he didn't look at her, so he gave in and stared at her. The ritual began when a magic circle appeared around both of them, along with a smaller magic circle on Basara's hand, which he told Yuki to kiss, but she refused and claimed she wouldn't do a master-servant pact with him. Apparently, she was refusing so that Basara would force her to submit in the same bizarre way he did with Mio, and she started losing control and the magic circle began to fade, so Basara decided to do his best to help her. Basara started to pull some redo of healer moves using Yuki's body, and Maria motivated him to go even wilder. He went plus ultra with his massage until it reached a point where the magic circle around them glowed at high intensity, which meant that they'd powered up. Somehow, all of that still wasn't enough, because Maria suggested that Basara should take Yuki and Mio to the bathroom and continue their fun time over there. She also suggested that Mio should start calling Yuki by her first name, because they were both Basara's servants, and they both agreed to have bath time with Basara. While they were having their fun in the bathroom, Zest watched from afar and felt jealous because her master was an old fart who she couldn't do corny stuff with. The next day, Mio and Yuki were playing around on the volleyball field while Basara watched in awe of their teamwork, just before Takegawa saved him from getting hit in the face by a stray ball. Afterwards, Basara got his fingers patched up by Chisato, who brought up the fact that he hadn't been able to relax properly before advising him not to pressure himself too much. She said that he needed to plan ways to solve his problems ahead instead of fearing them in order to protect the ones that meant the most to him, and instructed him not to take off the bandages on his fingers until she told him to. After he left her office, he was approached by one of his classmates named Sakaki, who asked if he was dating Yuki or Mio since he was living with both of them. When he denied the accusation, she started showing clear signs of being rizzed up by him as she brought up all the bizarre stuff Basara did with them in secret. Sakaki then tried to make him do private workouts with her before Yuki showed up with Mio and tried to attack her with her sword. Sakaki evaded the attack, which confirmed Yuki's suspicions that she was an enemy, so she told Basara to go help Mio out with her curse mark that was going berserk while she handled Sakaki. Sakaki trolled Yuki until her accomplice named Edkawa arrived and made it a 2-on-1 battle which Yuki was still highly motivated to engage in. As Mio ran away, she was overwhelmed with jealousy because of what she saw with Basara and Sakaki, until she reached a spot where Maria came to comfort her. Just then, Mio fell asleep due to a spell cast by Zest, who appeared at the scene, and Basara tried to jump to the rescue, but they vanished before he could get there in time. The young hero tried to use his Master-Slave Pact to search for Mio, but realized that he could only sense Yuki. Meanwhile, Mio had a dream about how her pleasant time with her foster parents was interrupted when Zolja showed up and annihilated both of them. After watching both of her foster parents get barbecued, she met her cousin Oria, who told her the truth about her origin and swore to protect her. Mio woke up to the realization that she was chained up, and Zest showed up to gloat about her plan working perfectly, which made Mio accuse her of being a servant of the current demon lord named Leohard. Zolja denied that claim, and Mio immediately recognized his voice as he claimed that he was after more than the old demon lord's power, causing her to go on a murderous rage as she demanded to know why he unalived her parents, but he rage-baited her some more before attempting to play with her milk cannons. Maria stopped him by reporting an urgent message from the current demon lord, which took the form of a video call via crystal ball. When Leohard asked why he couldn't see him, the ugly fart made up trashy stories of faulty magic barriers in the area, and even denied having anything to do with the sudden disappearance of Mio. The demon lord then summoned him to the castle immediately to join the investigation of a newly discovered ruin, and he had no choice but to agree. As he left with Zest, Zolja promised to make Mio his own personal stress toy when he gets back. Elsewhere, Basara asked Takegawa about Mio's whereabouts, and the cheeky demon revealed that Maria had been taking orders from Zolja. He gave him the full lore about how Zolja was trying to get ahead of the demon lord in the pursuit of Mio, but Basara was more concerned about Maria's role in this affair. Takegawa then revealed that Maria had a special form he called a trump card that was so troubling to Zolja that he had to blackmail her by kidnapping her mother to get her to cooperate with his plans. He also revealed that Zolja was the one who ordered her to reverse the Master-Servant Pact between Basara and Mio, so she could be the slave and he could use the curse to make her break by doing weird things to her. Knowing how much trouble Mio was in, Basara decided to fight Takegawa to get him to spill Mio's location. Meanwhile, Mio accused Maria of betraying her, but Maria destroyed her hopes by informing her that Basara couldn't come to their location due to Zolja's special barriers before putting her to sleep using magic. Hours later, Takegawa aka Lars met up with Zest outside of Zolja's secret hideout and offered an unconscious Basara in exchange for Mio. Zest was surprised by this offer, causing Lars to bring up the fact that Zolja had left for the royal castle after being summoned by demon lord Leohard. This made Zest realize that it was Lars who recommended Zolja to the demon lord for that expedition and called him out for it. When Lars said he could have also reported the fact that they kidnapped Mio, which was an act of betrayal against the demon lord and his council, Zest asked if he was threatening them, and Lars replied that he was only fulfilling his duty as Mio's observer before advising her to do her duty of protecting her master. She acted like she was going to cooperate, but instead turned him into a donut by stabbing a hole through his stomach before burning him alive as double insurance. Meanwhile, inside the castle, Maria was plagued with guilt for what she'd done to Mio, and she remembered when Zolja revealed her mother's situation before ordering her to betray Basara and Mio, which she agreed to. Suddenly, Zest came by with Basara's unconscious body and revealed the change of plans which involved her subduing him before proceeding to instruct Maria to use her succubus powers to make it happen. When Basara regained consciousness, he sensed Mio in the area but realized that he was chained to the bed when Maria came by. She revealed that it was Zolja's mansion before opening up his shirt and treating his chest like an ice cream bar. Basara made her stop by bringing up her mother's situation and offering to help her out, but she argued that Zolja was too powerful for them, which was the reason she agreed to betray them in the first place. She swore to dominate his heart, even if it took using her trump card, and a giant magic circle appeared above them, which conjured a big key that opened up the lock in her chest. This made Maria transform into an adult form, as she explained that it was this power that allowed her to escape with Mio when her parents were attacked, and then told him to prepare to experience a real succubus baptism. Maria used her special hypnotism powers on Basara as she took off his chains and told him to display his only talent on her, which made him start playing with her cannons intensely. She apologized with tears in her eyes, which made Basara snap out of the hypnotism spell and break out of her hold while saying that he'd rather save her than play around with her. Maria immediately jumped away from the bed as she wondered how her baptism failed, and immediately Basara summoned his weapon and planted it on the ground as it glowed. As the weapon disappeared, Maria said there was no way he could beat her without a weapon, but Basara claimed he knew he'd be dead meat if he tried, but was more interested in saving her. Maria emitted an ominous aura and told him to stop underestimating her as she fired a dark energy blast at him, which he dodged with incredible speed only to get knocked into a wall by her fists. Zest, who was watching them, was impressed, however. She knew that Maria might end up breaking him beyond repair and was about to intervene. However, she was interrupted by an energy blast fired by Yuki, which she managed to dodge with a jump before asking how Yuki got in. She realized that the magic barrier surrounding Zolja's castle had disappeared and realized that it was Basara who erased it, using Banishing Shift before engaging in combat with Maria. Yuki fired more energy slashes at Zest, which she managed to block before attempting a magic attack of her own only to get deflected by Yuki. Zest and Yuki clashed intensely and countered each other's powerful moves, but Zest claimed that Yuki had no chance at winning in demon territory. However, a flame attack came flying at her, which she dodged and realized that Mio had joined the battle despite being chained up. Mio fired several lightning spells at Zest, which she evaded before Yuki undid her restraints and revealed that Maria's parents were being held hostage. This made Mio realize that Maria was forced into betraying her, so she decided to make Zest pay for both of their sakes. Zest tried to unalive them using a powerful earthbending move, which the girls dodged, after which Yuki blasted several magical attacks of her own. Zest continued to block and cornered Yuki with more magic blasts, but Mio unleashed a flame attack that overwhelmed Zest, creating an opening for Yuki to land a devastating slash at her. Mio thought they'd won, but Yuki gave her a reality check by pointing out that Zest avoided their combo move. Zest then tried to end Yuki with a barrage of blasts, but Mio blocked with a shield, which made Zest decide to gaslight the demon princess into betraying her squad by lying that Basara was only trying to save Maria. However, Mio proved that she wasn't a gullible doofus when she pointed out that Basara was doing the right thing, and then pulled an Uno reverse card by bringing up Zest's uncomfortable relationship with Zolja, which was nothing like what she and Basara shared. Meanwhile, Maria was exhausted after landing her best hits on Basara, but the doofus hero refused to give up despite his injured state as he continued to approach her. He claimed that he'd never give up on her as he grabbed her shoulder and she tried to finish him off with a Texas smash, but noticed it didn't affect him at all. However, Basara hugged her tightly and apologized for allowing her to suffer alone for so long. Meanwhile, Zest was unconscious after getting clapped by Mio and Yuki, and when Mio asked Yuki if she came by herself to rescue her, Yuki replied that it was Basara who ordered her to do it, and this made Mio happy as they tied up Zest. They decided to leave her for the meantime and rushed to Basara's side, but they were stopped by a powerful paralysis spell as Zolja made his dramatic return. When Zest apologized for failing, Zolja said it was okay, because he got new toys before firing a magic blast that knocked out Yuki and hurt Zest. Zolja called Zest a piece of trash for not being able to shield his new toy and accused her of invading their relationship with Basara before trying to end her with a dark choking spell. All of a sudden, Basara fired a Banishing Shift attack that eliminated the spell before charging at Zolja, who blocked his sword strike and commended his strength before asking about Maria. Zolja confessed that they might have won with Maria's trump card, after which he activated his spell that froze Basara as he tried to take a peek at his mind. On the outside, Lars walked over his body double that was burnt to a crisp by zest and made his way inside the castle. Meanwhile, Maria was in the room where she formerly restrained Basara and was lost in thought as she remembered Basara telling her to remain in the room while assuring her that he'd save her mother. Basara was still struggling to regain control of his body while Zolja Trash talked his dad by bringing up the fact that Jin gave up the title of greatest hero for his pathetic son. He boldly claimed that he'd claimed the power of Wilbert that was inside of Meo, as well as Basara's powers, causing Meo to panic. However, Basara managed to break free of his mind control and attempted to slash Zolja, but the old demon dodged and continued to insult Jin, which angered Basara to the point where he attacked Zolja several more times with his sword. Zolja easily blocked his attacks with his own dark sword hole, praising his speed, but Basara remembered Jin's words of inspiration, which kicked him into a higher gear. Unfortunately, that didn't achieve anything as Zolja smacked him around like a pinata and called him an utter disgrace of a swordsman before he sent him flying with a brutal kick. Mia warned Basara to look out as Zolja prepared a powerful flame attack, and Basara managed to block the attack using his vanishing shift, even though he was still pushed to the ground by the recoil. Basara desperately tried to land some slash attacks on him, but he suddenly turned invisible and choked Basara out before smacking him on the ground. However, Basara refused to stay down, and this made Zolja motivated to make him feel despair as he vanished again. This time Basara tried to sense Zolja with his eyes closed, and despite the fact that it worked, he couldn't slice through Zolja's magic barrier. Zolja was pleased to see Basara's eyes of despair as he blasted him straight into a wall and used magic to get into his mind once again. He made Basara bring his virgin fantasies to life, and Basara's efforts to resist Zolja's mental bondage were futile until Maria arrived. Zolja was pleased by the fact that Maria had come to face him, but Mio was surprised by Maria's enhanced form. As he attacked Maria, dodged it, and resisted his rage baiting before claiming that she was there to end him in order to stop Basara from doing anything reckless. Zolja brought up Maria's caged-up mother while asking her to choose between joining him alongside Mio or letting her mother die after betraying her comrades in the moderate faction to save her. Maria said she refused both, causing Zolja to reveal the current footage of her mom's cage, which was nothing but a large blood stain on the floor. He said that he'd ended her for her betrayal using a rupturing spell, and this made Maria break down in tears as her transformation came undone. Mio suddenly lost her cool and unleashed a terrifying aura that envelopes the battlefield as she remembered how her foster parents were tragically unalived in the same manner. Everyone around was scared except Zolja, who deployed an anti-magic field which absorbed the aura before confessing that he showed Mio the footage on purpose, because the only way to trigger Mio's latent power was by reminding her of her trauma. Maria tried to attack Zolja as he approached Mio, but he used his mental bondage spell to freeze her in place and claimed that it was finally time to seize Mio's power as he got close to Mio. Fortunately, things didn't work out the way he planned because Mio still had enough aura to zap his hands away from her, and Zolja realized that he was about to be cooked because Mio was wielding her own overpowered magic and not Wilbert's. Zolja soiled himself as Mio claimed she didn't care what happened after she destroyed him because she'd waited for that moment her entire life, before she could annihilate him with a spirit bomb. Basara approached her while being held up by Zest and begged her not to unalive Zolja because he didn't want her life to be filled with despair after she got her revenge. Mio then told him to order her using his master's servant pact, but Basara refused as he claimed that doing it would damage their relationship as brother and sister. He brought up how he promised Jin that he'd protect her as an older brother from all forms of darkness, including her own, and embraced her while begging her one more time. She eventually gave in to Basara's rizzful words and Zolja vanished, which made everyone start panicking, but Basara assured them that everything was all right. Suddenly, Maria's mom named Shella arrived, causing Maria to wonder how he'd survived, and Basara explained that it was thanks to the help of Lars. Meanwhile, Zolja escaped to the outside of his castle, where he met Lars, who revealed that the old doofus fell for his trick and murdered a body double of Lars, which he thought was Maria's mom after Lars had already helped her escape. Lars said it was one of the conditions of the deal which he made with Basara, who promised to grant a special request of his in return. Zolja asked what Lars was after, which made Lars narrate how the old demon Lord Wilbert selected a kind couple to be Mio's foster parents, who turned out to be people who looked after him like an older brother and sister when he was younger. At this point, Zolja knew he was about to meet the spirits, so Lars cut the long story short by revealing that his condition with Basara was that he destroys Zolja with his own hands. Inside of the castle, Shella introduced herself to everyone and thanked Basara for saving them before Zest ruined the mood by bringing up the fact that Zolja's barrier had been taken down. As the castle started morphing into a large creature, Zest explained that the old runt turned the demon realm's most dangerous creature into his base in order to be undetectable by the demon lord. Zolja had transformed the creature monster into a castle and put it to sleep, but now that his magic was undone, the beast had awoken. They realized they were in the monster's stomach, and Zest said there was no way to escape since the beast was dimensionally cut off. Lars saw the creature from the outside and got angry with Zolja for being so messed up, but Zolja bragged about how the monster was his insurance that would ensure the world was swallowed up because he couldn't get the power he wanted. The girls fought off a couple of smaller monsters inside the stomach, and Basara asked for the location of the monster's core, so Zest directed him to the center of the mansion. He claimed that his plan was to use Banishing Shift's ability to erase the monster's dimensional desperation, and Mio initially tried to stop him, but decided to join him because she wanted to protect him as well. Yuki also asked to join them with the intention of protecting Basara alongside Mio, while he prepared his ultimate move, and Maria decided to stay back to protect Shella. Zest decided to lead them to the central core, and they decided to trust her, which they all ran into. They encountered some slithery monsters along the way, which they easily tore apart before reaching a dead end, causing Basara to be confused, so Zest explained that the monster's physical transformation had altered the shape of the castle, which meant that they couldn't go back if they tried. They decided to force their way through, and Zest cleared the path once more by burning off the obstacle in their path. They got to a creepy staircase that turned into terrifying monsters, which Zest said was due to the fact that the creature's immune system was trying to defend itself. Yuki decided to hold the monsters off, while they ran ahead, and Basara tried to debate it, but Yuki explained that she needed to do it so he could focus on using the ultimate move to save the day. The monsters then started attacking her from all angles, but Yuki proved to be Instier Aura Farmer, as she ripped all of them to shreds using all the sword skills she learned from Bleach. Zest led Basara and Mio through a path to the bottom of the castle, and they arrived at a spot which Zest said she'd never been to before, but knew that it was Zolja's private room, which was directly above the core. Mio entered the room and saw a human-like demon's body suspended in the walls, which looked familiar to her, but things got out of control when the body started choking her. Basara tried to run in for the save, but he was intercepted by a similar demon, who pinned him to the ground and tried to finish him off before Zest destroyed the two demons with her dark magic. This awakened a bunch of similar demons that surrounded them, and Zest said they needed to destroy all of them at once, so they all used their magic powers to face off against the demons. Things took a sudden twist when the demons started using magic to fight back, but that didn't stop Basara mad Zest from wiping the floor with them. Zest saw the remains of the demons and realized that she'd been abandoned by Zolja right from the beginning, but eventually blasted a hole into the ground, which took them to the core. Basara noticed that it was being shielded by slithery monsters, so Mio and Zest tried to take them out, but got sent flying instead when the monsters began their attack. They realized they were cooked when the beast showed off its acid powers, but Zest decided to make the monster focus its attacks on her, while Basara finishes it off. He tried to argue against it, but she confessed that the demons they faced and the humanoid demons they faced in the upper floor were prototypes of her, because she's a magical creature made by Zolja. She went further to reveal that Zolja was always discontent with the imperfection in her heart, because she was created as a prototype to test for errors, and said that they didn't need to concern themselves with her. Mio debated by claiming she had a heart because she envied their relationship, but Basara agreed to her plan, which shocked Mio. Zest created a bunch of magic circles, which attacked the monsters, and Basara destroyed the monster's core using his complete Banishing Shift. In reaction, the giant beast emitted a huge energy blast that destroyed a nearby mountain as it passed out, and Takegawa gloated about his friend's success before knocking Zolja out with a magic spell. A while later, Zest woke up and remembered their final moments inside the monster's belly, where Basara pushed away from the slimy monster's attacks before jumping in to destroy the core with his ultimate move. Shella asked Zest if she intended to run since she wasn't opposing them anymore, and Zest replied that her fate now lies in Basara's hands before realizing that he wasn't with them. Takegawa tortured Zolcia brutally until the old fool started ranting some nonsense about how he'd clap them once his magic recovered, and Takegawa said he was stalling because someone insisted on watching Zolcia's execution. Zolcia thought that it would be Zest or Maria, which he could manipulate, but it ended up being Basara who arrived and apologized to Lars for being late. Takegawa then revealed to Zolcia that there was a second condition to their deal, which was allowing Basara to confirm Zolcia's death in exchange for him vouching for Lars to the girls. Zolcia tried to manipulate Basara by begging like a desperate idiot, but it didn't work, so Lars used some dark magic to make his face explode, which destroyed him for good. Basara wondered if everything that happened was for the best and noticed the bandage which Chisato wrapped on his finger falling off. Afterwards, Basara went back inside his home where he met Yuki and Zest. Yuki informed him that Maria and her mom were asleep while Mio was still awake, and Zest tried to suggest that they finish her off like her master, but Basara said he wanted her to find a different way of life instead. Zest said she'd obey his orders, and Yuki asked what they'd do when other demonic forces came after Mio's powers, but Basara decided it was best to check on Mio and Maria before worrying about the stressful stuff. After checking on Maria, he met Mio, who he gave some tea to help her sleep, and tried to leave her room before she held him back. He saw that she was still shook by recent events, so he decided to stay back and comfort her for a bit. Mio said she'd tell the moderate faction demons not to harm Zest when they came to retrieve Maria, and Basara apologized for putting her in a difficult position. She said it was okay because they were all together again, but Basara remembered Takegawa's words about Mio dying if anyone else did weird things to her, so he asked Mio if Zolcia did anything to her. Mio confirmed that he didn't, but Basara was still worried as his hands were shivering, and he eventually lost his cool and started doing all sorts of sus things to her, after claiming that he wouldn't let anyone steal her from him. When Mio reached her limit, Basara finally regained his senses and jumped off before apologizing to her. Mio smiled as she said she didn't accept his apology and asked him to kiss her one more time. Surprisingly, Yuki walked into the room and kissed Basara, which shocked Mio, but things got even more wild when Zest showed up as well. Yuki made more moves on Basara, which made Mio start bickering with her, and Maria, who watched from outside, felt that it wasn't the right mood for farewell. She felt that everyone around would take care of Mio's smile after she leaves, but Basara surprisingly dragged her into the room and begged her to stop the lovers' spat between Mio and Yuki. Maria got emotional when the arguments got intense and kissed Basara while claiming that she would take him for herself. Later that night, the moderate faction demons came to take Zest and Maria away, while Takegawa watched from a high point in the city, and they all returned to their normal fun lives. Meanwhile, a demon reported to Demon Lord Leonhard that Zolcia had been defeated, which shocked him, but he received a new level of shock when he entered his palace and saw Jin sitting on his throne above a bunch of unconscious guards. Jin trolled him for a bit before revealing that his intention for being there was to make Leonhard pay for harming his kids. Who do you think would win the battle between Jin and Demon Lord Leonhard? Let us know in the comments. That's all for today's video. If you like anime recaps like this, check out this video here.